Okay, it's 10 minutes, it's 6 minutes past 10, and we'll be kicking off right about now. First of all, I have to welcome you all. Good morning, sirs. Good morning, Mars, for joining this first edition of the Senior Member Strategy Room, hosted by SP Benin. My name is Samuel Maxwell, and I'll be the MC for this program for today. You are all welcome. Without much ado, I'd like to welcome all the guest speakers, the keynote presenters, and our host this meeting. First of all, I would like for that to be done through video, and I'll play the video now. Kindly mute your audio so we can all have a clear version of this video and we can all know our keynote presenters and our guest speakers as well as our hosts. Thank you very much. Okay.
SP Benin-City presents Senior Members Strategy Room, First Edition. Team Retire to Refire. Keynote presenters: Sir Ikechukwu Gospel Okafor enjoyed 30 years of unblemished career in NNPC, where he retired as Executive Director Operations and was Chairman Society of Petroleum Engineers Nigerian Council from 2011 to 2012. He was appointed and still serves as the Special Advisor on Oil and Gas to His Excellency Chief Dr. Willie Obiano, Executive Governor of Anambra State. He is currently a member of the SPE Nigeria Board of Trustees. Sir Ikechukwu Gospel Okafor Dele Akyumbari worked for Schlumberger Oilfield Services and held various positions during his career. Global Training Manager, Schlumberger, Western Gecko, Land Operations, Multi-Client Asset Development Manager for Africa, but to mention a few. He currently heads the Project Management Office of Itron E&P Co. Limited. He is a member of the National Content Research and Development Council. Dele Akyumbari, Engineer Mrs. Olusei Afolabi, is the Principal Consultant CEO of Reservoir and Facility Solutions Limited, RFS. She has 37 years of experience in the oil sector of hydrocarbon exploration, development and production industry. She retired from ExxonMobil upstream companies in Nigeria as Executive Director, Commercial and New Business Development in 2017 and is an active member of the Board of Trustees of Society of Petroleum Engineers Nigerian Council SPE. Engineer Mrs. Olusei Afolabi. Sola Abulu is a management consultant, organization strategist, and leadership coach with over 25 years experience in organizational effectiveness, reputation risk, and crisis management. She founded Sola Abulu and Associate SANA, a management consultancy firm. She is currently on the African Board of International Association of Business Communicators IABC as a member in charge of West Africa. Sola Abulu Sholanke is the head petroleum engineering or handle energy resources, Nigeria's leading independent E&P company. She has over 20 years experience in the industry and is dedicated to driving value realization through critical evaluation for subsurface opportunities. Sholanke and your host, engineer Onduayo Oladuba, is a senior petroleum engineer working with Nigerian Petroleum Development Company (NPDC). He is an award winner in coaching, team building, leadership, and volunteer service for Society of Petroleum Engineers (SPE). He is currently the chairman of the Benin Section 116 and council member of SPE Nigeria. You're welcome to Senior Member Strategy Room, first edition. Retire to refire.
Once again, you are all welcome to this Senior Member Strategy Room. Right now, we'll go straight to the opening remark from the host, the section chairman, Engineer Odunayo Oladuba. Over to you now, sir.
Thank you, Maxwell. Good morning, dear SPA members. Good afternoon or good evening, depending on which region of the world you're joining us from. Welcome guests who are new to SPE, the Society of Petroleum Engineers. SPE is a not-for-profit professional association with members in 144 countries in the world. Just yesterday, the SPE Benin board members paid a courtesy visit to a managing director of an E&P company in Benin-City, Nigeria. In the words of the managing director, SPE is the best professional association in the energy industry. We do not only major in disseminating technical information concerning exploration and production of hydrocarbon resources, but also we care about professional competence of our members and social services to our community. SPE cares. SPE Benin-City, Nigeria truly cares. Today's webinar is first of its kind. It is specially designed for our senior members who are less than 10 years to attain the statutory retirement age or service year. The theme of the webinar is Retire to Refire, Toolkits and Strategy to Create Value or Capture Value upon Retirement from Active Employment. This aims to prepare our senior members ahead to enable them to quickly hit the ground running on retirement to continue what they knew how to do best while in service. That is, adding and creating value. Besides our senior members, mid-levels professionals or young professionals who are listening in, we find today's webinar very informative too. I recall when I was employed by the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC, 14 years ago, I partook in a 1-month induction exercise conducted at the time to onboard the new hires into the NNPC family. One of the
Sorry, sir, we've lost your audio. We can't hear you now. I think it went on mute. Okay. You're back now, sir. Carry on, sir.
Okay. Confirm you can hear me now?
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
At what point did you lose the audio?
The onboarding program at NNPC.
All right. Thank you so very much, Maxwell. So in that induction program, one of the key lessons I noted is that the best time to prepare for retirement is on your first day of employment. This lesson continues to resonate with me since the day I noted it. I had incorporated this thought into the way I learn and how I deliver results in my professional service to NNPC in particular, and in my career in general over the past 14 years. Therefore, I look forward to learning as much as possible from our esteemed guest speakers today. So if you are like me at your mid-level professional career, you can be rest assured that the next 2 hours is going to be one of your most precious moments of learning, because it will be very valuable to the years ahead of you. Suffice it to say, in concluding, that the best time to prepare for retirement is the first day of your employment to professional service. The second best time to prepare for retirement is today. On this note, I profoundly appreciate our distinguished guest speakers who are already leading with great examples in creating value upon retirement from active employment. Thank you for accepting to share from your wealth of experience with the rest of us today. We are aware that some of you will be speaking from the United States of America, which is in different time zone from Nigeria. It is around 10 a.m. now in Nigeria and around 4 a.m. for you in the US. Thank you for this golden sacrifice of joining us still to add value to us. Congratulations to all the awardees of SPE Benin Senior Citizens Awards, who we are going to recognize later during this program. Immense thanks to SPE Benin board members and the planning committee of this maiden Senior Member Strategy Room, SMSR Webinar 2021. Thank you so much indeed. Lastly, thanks to everyone who has made out time to participate in today's event. Welcome and good morning. Back to you, Maxwell.
Thank you very much, sir, for that warm opening remarks. And one thing I could learn from that already, despite the program hasn't actually gone far, is that we have to start preparing for retirement on the first day of the job. And thus going forward, I see that this webinar isn't just for senior members, it's for young professionals as well in the industry to learn how to prepare on the first day of the job. Thank you very much for that warm welcoming remarks. We look forward to hearing more from you in the course of the program. Moving forward, we have our very first keynote presenter for today, Sir I.G. Okafor, and we have his permission to share his slides for his keynote presentation. Sir I.G. Okafor, you're welcome. Kindly confirm you can see the slides.
Yes, you can see the slides.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir. The floor has been yielded over to you now for your presentation, sir.
Good morning, all. Agad, is mute or is still mute? Agad G is still mute.
IG, your audio is still on mute. We can't hear you. Kindly unmute so we can hear you, sir.
Hello.
Yes, you're welcome, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Okay, yeah, please. I want to thank SP. I want to thank SP. Good morning, everybody. I want to thank SP for having me. Having me worthy to be a presenter in this forum, and I'm glad I've met some of my few friends I've known in the industry, Mrs. Afolabi, Akinobare, and the host of them, and lots of them. It's quite an experience to participate in this first webinar. I'm glad that Odunayo, he made a particular key remark regarding the time to prepare for retirement is the first day. And if you look at the second slide, I did capture that extensively. Can you go to that second remark? The second slide, please. Yeah. Go ahead. You are back on the first one. Okay. Okay. Life after the part is determined by the things you do while in service. That captures exactly what Oladugba just said. And for you to prepare for retirement, you have to make a conscious decision from day one, or while in service, maybe mid-career or whatever. It's not something you determine when you have a letter saying you are retiring in the next 6 months. It's not going to be possible. So it's a conscious decision you have to make while in service. And that's what has guided my career. Can we move on? That was what guided my career. And the non-work related activities. Hello? Are you hearing me? Hello?
Yeah, we're hearing you there.
The non-work related activities you do while in service is what actually shapes your retirement. That's not forgetting the fact that while you are in service also, you are acquiring skills, you are building skills that will be useful to you after you have left service. That's very key. So what influences that? What influences that decision is what I just told you about. Next slide. Okay, if you look at the next slide, for you to have an active life or to have non-active life, there are people who make up their decision that once they retire, all they have to do is move from the sitting room to the bedroom, have a good coffee, a brandy, and stay with the grandchildren. That's a choice they have to make. But I don't think that choice is the best choice. It might be, to them, it is the best choice, but you are going to expire quickly if you take that route. But that's a personal choice. I can't go ahead and criticize it. So, but when you want to live an active life, you got to ask yourself a question. Do you want service to earn money? Do you want service for relevance, to make an impact to the community, or both? The non-active life is what I just discussed about. They earn their pension, travel to the US, go to Acapulco if they can afford it, and enjoy their life. That's an option they have to make. So for me, I didn't take that route. I took the route to be active. Next slide, please. Okay. And that's what you are going to see here. Like I said earlier, the activities that you engaged in that non-work related. For example, in my career path, I joined trade unionism early. I have been active for SPA from my university days. But SPE, as an organization, like Oduayo said, is one of the best societies you can belong to. It prepares you for everything, because since SPE is not strictly for petroleum engineers or geologists, it prepares you for all manners. You can read legal issues, you can read geology, environmental issues. So it prepares you as an all-rounder to shape society in your thinking. And that's very key in the career of anybody who's an SPE member. Also, being an SPE member, it gives you a bigger forum to have circle of influence. You don't have to be a very smart person to be a good leader if you have a wide circle of influence. I remember critically when I was a manager of Chevron JV. I wasn't the best petroleum engineer, but because I relate with people, my background in NAPIMS, I have people in Shell, I have people in Chevron Mobile, I have people in Ajib and Total. When you have operational issues, it's a phone call away. Call your people, the friends you have. I have these issues. I can tell you by close of business day, you're going to get diverse answers to that same problem. They will not all converge. They will not all converge to give you the same answer. But at least the preponderance of those answers gives you where the solution lies. And that's what SPE provides for you. And that's how you build this career that makes you a better person when you in retirement. What about your personality? Are you an influencer? How do people look at you? Do they believe that whatever you say is the truth? You are not a person who is a side talker or whatever. That's two. Item 4 here tells about legacy. What footprints? Who are you really are? Do you have marketable skills? Did you make impact in your various departments while you are there? If the answer is affirmative, it means you have a skill that can influence your life in retirement. Will you classify yourself an expert in your field? Yes, you can be a generalist, but there are certain things you do that when they wake you up every time, you can talk about it. And thank God SP is such an organization that when you are out of service and you still get JPT, hold on to it, World Oil, hold on to your read. So it trains you on some of the things that are happening while you are not in service. It's quite good. Okay. Well, the slide you gave me has just left again. Can you go back to that? Okay. Okay. What about your virtues? Are you somebody people look for that you have integrity? Are you somebody people look like you have character? Are you somebody that you have a contentment? Because without contentment, you're going to get involved in a lot of things that will derail you in your careers while in service or your career out of service. Contentment is key. Integrity is key. Character is quite important in whatever you do. Next slide. Okay. How do you activate all these things? You can't, like Abiola used to say, you can't bab somebody's head except it's in the barbing salon, unless you have lakpa, like Yorubas will call it. So since you don't have lakpa, you must get involved. And you get involved through so many ways: politics, community-based services, belong to an NGO or religious-based organization, where you can deploy this so many years of experience and skills I've acquired that somebody trained you to be. For my career path, my unionism played quite a great role in me. For those who don't know who I am, I ran Pengasan. I rose to the portfolio of first vice president of Pengasan. In 1994 was when the June 12th strike was happened. July 12, 1994. And I controlled the strike from Lagos to Ilorin. And you know, it was a risky venture to be a trade unionist at that period of time. But we all survived it. When I hear Jagaban talk about it, he used to call me on first name basis. But I ran politics, I ran trade unionism because I ran it for the love of the country. I didn't run it because there are some pecuniary interests that come and settle me. And that's why when you do it without pecuniary interest, you survive it for a longer period than people who see it as making money. That's an aside. So because of my activities in the trade union, I also survived the retrenchment in NNPC, because a lot of trade unionists were also found where you run into trouble with management. Because if you have a price, then you have a price. Once they give you that price, they know you have a price. I didn't have a price. I stand by the truth all the time. Community-based services, go back to your community where you think you can make influence, where you think you can influence people, where you think you can change things. Because trade unionism, remember, you're on the opposing end all the time against management, against the nation. So for you to do that, you must play that role from a point that you have data to challenge the opposition. And data is key. And the more data you acquire, the more knowledgeable you are, really. Or you can do it from an NGO based gets into religious organization. But in my own, when I left, if you recall, like I talked about, your skills can only get highlighted when you get involved. I remember, to God be the glory, I retired in 2012 and in June 2012. And in August 2012, I got back to MPDC as an advisor to the MD. And I appreciate God for that. I didn't become an advisor to the MD because of politics, because I got there because of some inherent value with due respect and not being immodest about it, is because they saw in me somebody who can help the new MD. And I think I did help. And I also left when the ovation was loudest. Because at 2004, when I left NNPC as an advisor, I looked at the terrain. All my colleagues had retired. I don't want anybody to say, oh God, and only you there here, the young shall grow. So I told him, the new MD then, sorry, I thank you very much. I want to walk away. I thank you for the opportunity given to me. Then 2015 came, elections came. I just felt, look, what do I want to do? I want to be relevant. I want to be cerebral. So I got back to Anambra State and tried to look at the terrain. How can I do? What can I do? I said, let me go and run election to my state House of Assembly. People say, oh, how can you as an executive director be talking about House of Assembly? Why don't you go to the Senate? Why don't you go to the House of Reps? I said, no, thank you very much. But where will I make the greatest impact? It's within Anambra State. And that's why I started from the grassroots to become a House member, where the rest is history. Politics of Nigeria is brutal, it's wicked. If you are too honest, you never get elected. But stay the path of honesty. I got stabbed, but it was a training ground for me. I don't regret being part of it. What I am today as a special advisor to Anambra State Governor on oil and gas is because I didn't curse anybody because I didn't win the election or that I wasn't even allowed to continue. They saw me as somebody who is patient, and they saw my virtues. They saw my CV. I didn't lobby for it. I was called. Please, we know you didn't make it, or we didn't allow you to make it, but we think you can add value to us. And I wholeheartedly accepted. And I think over the period of 12, 13 months I worked for the government, based on job done by our late Professor Emma Ebuga and a few other people who are like part-time members of Anambra State Oil and Gas Committee, some of the documents they have prepared, some laws that have been approved by the State of Assembly that were lying dormant. Because I was a daily worker there, I picked up all those documents and be able to write position papers that allow creation of Anambra State Ministry of Petroleum Resources. That was an achievement that was done because if you have that drive, you have that distance, and people look at you and say, look, this guy, we believe what he said, we can follow him. That's what I can tell you I've achieved for Anambra State in 13 months I worked for them. And to God be the glory, that's a record for anybody. So like I said, Oduayo, I do appreciate your understanding. It's good, and I'm sure the younger people listening now will begin to key in now that all the experience they have gotten while working, don't let it go waste. When you retire, even if you don't want to, even if you want to do private businesses, it really adds value. Really adds value. You can present things, you can write position papers, you can write business plan, what have you. You don't have to consult too many people to do the same thing you have. So that's my advice. And for those listening who are young people who want to live, or people who are living in a couple of years who are not prepared, our discussion today will be an eye-opener. It's something that opens doors for you to begin to think through it. Life after retirement is not good. But however, remember, if your pension is not good, I don't know whether you go the path, you take the path I took. Maybe you need to do something else so your pension doesn't get so devalued with inflation, so that you can still be living a good life with the money you're earning in pension. I am paid as an advisor, but if I tell you what they pay me, you say, why did you accept the job? I took the job because monetary issue wasn't my problem. Thank God for NNPC. So money wasn't the issue. I can use that extra money to help widows, which is another line of community service, or use people who can't pay their school fees. It's still part of it. So, like I said, the decision to retire after you retire is a decision you take long before you retire or in mid-career. So I hope I still have some time. How many minutes do I have more? Hello?
Well, sir, you're over 5 minutes of the estimated time.
Okay, yes, I thought as much. So please let me round up by saying I'm glad I was brought in to this to share my thoughts, and I hope people who listen to me will pick up one or two things I've just said and become part of a great life in retirement. Thank you, SP. Thank you, the section chairman, for finding me worthy to be in this event. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir, for that exciting educative session. Indeed, it was more of an eye-opener for most of us, if not all of us on this meeting, that life before retirement begins on the first day, just like the section chair has said. And again, in doing that, we have to make choices along the line. We have to keep growing our network, we have to get involved, and we have to keep our personality in line with what we want to do. Thank you once again, Sir IG, for that session. It was indeed an educative session. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much.
Moving on to the next keynote presenter we have in our midst, Mrs. Shola Abulu, who is going to take over the virtual floor to present her slides, as well as impact us with what she has learned over the years, so we can also prepare on how to refire when we retire. Over to you, Mrs. Shola Abulu. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. So I'll share my screen, right?
Yes,
okay.
ma'am.
Okay, let me just try and do that now. Please let me know when you can see my screen.
We can see the screen. It's up now, ma'am.
Okay, excellent. So, yes, just give me a second while My name is Shola Abulu, as you all know. How many minutes do I have, by the way? Because I can talk for Africa, so let me just moderate myself. How long do I have to speak? Could you give me an idea, please? Hello?
15 minutes.
Okay,
Okay, so I just want to know whether my time has reduced. Okay, so fine. So my name is Shola Abulu. I worked for Shell for about 22 years. I took early retirement after I turned 50 in December 2019. I worked in the external relations department all throughout. Coincidentally, my team was responsible for, managing and organizing the annual SPE conference. So even though I wasn't a member of SP, I used to attend the annual conferences in Lagos every year. We were in charge of the Shell exhibition stand, a lot of people who worked with us, in fact, the whole exhibition team and all of that. So I am very much what you would call a friend of the house, even though I am not actually a member, but it's a big honor to be here. And I thank you so much for inviting me. So I'm hoping that this will be a very useful session for all of us, because it's all about just sharing our stories, and there will be different stories as to what we do when we get to that point that we all know we'll get to, when we have to hang our boots and retire into out of paid employment. And I like what Sir IG said, and also what Mr. Oduayo said when he said that you prepare for your retirement from the very first day. I wish they told everybody this, particularly people who work in the oil industry, who, there's a way the oil industry just cocoons you, makes things so comfortable for you that you just forget. And I have seen many people reach age 60 completely unprepared. I mean, we've seen all sorts, and even though I didn't, have that leaning at the beginning, at a stage in my life, I realized that I didn't want that to happen to me. So I had started planning for my retirement at least 10 years, as in active planning, before I actually retired. One of the steps I took, I think was from 2005, was to go and get an MBA, because I realized that the work I was doing within Shell was not enough to be marketable or transferable outside of Shell. So and that was the best decision of my life. So let me just take all this off so that you This doesn't block your view. So yeah. So one of the things that I did when I finally made the decision that I was going to retire, and my timing was influenced by family reasons. I had a son who, there was just something going on at home that I needed to pay more attention to. I had tried to work it with work, concerning one of my sons, and it didn't work. So I just realized that it's like I have gone as far as I can do with this paid employment thing. I needed my time and my flexibility back. So that was my goal. And I'm using the GROW model. So just like Sayaji referred to, it is important that you do a self-assessment. This is so important. I see a lot of people struggle because they did not do this self-assessment. Self-assessment is you looking at it from your own point of view, not as in you assess yourself. To thyself be true is something I always tell people. Don't go according to what other people are doing, but know yourself, know who you are, what your likes, your strengths, your weaknesses are. And a very important thing that Sayaji said, it is who you are while you were working that will determine the options available to you outside. Because what I found out is that just like the people who recommended me to Mr. Oduayo is people that I worked with while I was in Shell. I've never met him before. How SP Benin called me, apart from the fact that I'm married to an Asian man, but apart from that, how it was the Benin section that called me to give this keynote, I don't know. But it is all about what people, your personal reputation while you were in service. So for the people who are extremely unkind to people around them, both colleagues and subordinates, I really, really wonder what retirement will be like. But anyway, back to using this GROW model to self-assess. My goal was I needed to retain my time and flexibility after retirement. I didn't want to go back into another paid employment. So people do that and that's fine. But me, I think I had given enough for the 9 to 5. I needed time and flexibility. I also wanted self-fulfillment and I wanted to do what I enjoy. I loved working where I was working, but I think I got tired of the corporate, drama and all of that. So I really wanted to get myself away from all of that. And I wanted to be able to support my son who was going through quite a difficult time at the time. So all of that was my goals. But my current reality, of course, there was the needs from the family side. Then finances, that which IG referred to, that finances aspect is a major one. Sure, we can have a whole masterclass on finances after retirement, but I'm sure Mr. Oduayo will schedule that as time goes. Because if you do not settle your financial plan, you are not even in a position, the options that will be available to you post-retirement, they will be very slim. You know what I'm saying? You really have to take whatever comes your way. So one thing I really tried to do was to make sure that I had settled that. And that's why they say start the planning. When that statement that both Sir IG and Mr. Oduayo made about settling your planning for retirement from the first day is about the finances more than any other thing. So whether it's house, whether it's land, whether it's your school children's school fees, all those things, please make sure you sort them before you make that step. And don't squander the money you are getting every day, because when you retire, it's not going to be like that. So, and then I had location constraints. So I knew that you can't offer me a job in Abuja, Port Harcourt, I will take it. I needed to be in Lagos. And I also needed to be very much home-based. And I put work from home there. So you can see that the timing, God really worked it out for me, because as I retired in December 2019, pandemic hit in 2020, everybody was working from home. So, but that's, I will leave that for when I'm going forward later. So the options available to me is to manage that transition, because I knew that I'd have a transition. And I want to make it clear, I loved working for Shell. I worked for Shell in Nigeria. I worked for Shell in Holland. I worked for Shell in the UK. Most of my best friends are Shell people, as in Shell is a fantastic employer. Shell people, they are excellent. So for me to have made the decision to leave early, first of all, that tells you that, first of all, there was a pressing family situation that I needed to attend to. But I really needed God and strength to help me make that decision, because the Shell community was a very strong part of my life. But it's also good that Shell community post-retirement remains the same. And I think it's the same thing in NNPC as well. And oil industry just has that way of bringing people together, which is why you are calling somebody like me now. So that's really, really excellent. But again, the spirit of community, like Saiji talked about, the things he had been doing, the networks and the relationships you built while you were at work. It's not after work you now turn into a nice person. Nobody is going to fall for that story. You needed to have been approachable. You needed to have been accessible. You needed to have been credible. You needed to have been likable and friendly while you were working. After, sorry, we are not interested. So anyway, the options for me then was to go and do a PhD, to do consulting, to do pro bono, which is something I started doing like 5 years before retirement, particularly in church, where I would just give my communication services, you know, to the church and just do that. And what that did for me, which I didn't realize at the time, was that I developed a team. I now had a young team of young people who just liked being around me, and they liked the fact that this old mama just likes to do the things that they do and all that. And by the time I retired and I was now thinking of setting up my business, they were the ones coming to me and say, Ms. Abulu, we need to do something. What are you doing? You know, set up, you know, they were the ones gingering me. So again, the power of networks and relationships, because when you are in paid employment, people come to you because of your position. There are some people that will not look for you from the day you leave that seat. So the people that ask for you, that's when you now know the people that really, really love you. So if you have been somebody that has been carrying your position on your head, in fact, you will have a very, very good time, in quotes, after retirement. So another option was to publish a book, to write a book, because I'm a writer by, you know, profession and background. I do communications. So in Shell, everything around campaigns, issues management. I was a crisis communications lead, press releases, public relations, all of that. Shell's brand, managing it, you know, all of that. I was doing it, you know. Even the communication strategy around major oil and gas projects, commercial opportunities, making sure that we manage our communication. So all of that, a lot of above the line things. In other words, things you will see visibly and things you will not see, you know, managing issues before they become crisis. That was very much within my portfolio. So what I eventually decided to do, I did the PhD applications, but as God will have it, they were not successful because my transcript from my university was not coming. So eventually I started doing the pro bono, and somehow God led me and I started doing the consulting. It was a first-time entrepreneurial thing for me. I have never been an entrepreneur. I've always wanted to do it. I did not know if I could do it. People always say, Shola, you can't do business because I don't know how to buy and sell. I'm not a hustler. So people, you know, they always made me feel that way, that I'm the kind of person that can only work in an office. So I never tried it, but God led me to it. And I will tell you how that went. So what was my big why as a management consultant? First of all, I love critical thinking. I love it. I don't, and this helped me even in my job within Shell, because I will sit down with the engineers and they will tell me they have an oil and gas project is coming up. They want to tell the story either to Nigerian content, or they want to tell it to the government or whoever. And I will have to understand the logic of what they are saying and break it into normal stories that everybody, layman, can understand. And I found it very easy because all I will do is follow the logic. I don't need to be a petroleum engineer. I don't need to be a geologist. I don't need to be, you know, a maintenance engineer. But I follow the logic of what you are saying. Okay, you need to use smart phalanges because you need this or you need that. It is an FPSO, you need it. It has topside, it has this one. All those things, just give me the logic. I don't need to have the technical details. I will use it to craft out a communication strategy that meets the needs of your project or the business or the conversation you're going to have either with government or investors or lenders, as we later started talking with, you know. So that was that. So I love that. I love solving problems, and I love helping others to succeed. In fact, a major part of what I used to do in Shell Nigeria, most people will never see me. My name would not be on it. Sorry, can you go? I can hear your microphone is, okay, thank you. I think that has gone off now. Okay. And then a major part of my role was helping others to succeed. So that was my why going into management consultancy. And like Oga Saidi talked about, so I wanted to make impact, but I also wanted to do it at a commercial, you know, I wanted to make some money out of it, but not at all costs. So I did turn down a lot of things because I also didn't want anybody to come in and suck me into their own thing, whereby it's like another 9 to 5. So I was careful about what I got into. I knew very strongly what I did not want. So that made it easier for me to go after what I wanted. So I set up a brand. And okay, so there are some fundamental questions we must all ask ourselves before we go into retirement. You won't believe this, but the first question you have to ask yourself is, who am I going to become? You see that who, you have to answer it before you go into retirement. Because particularly for lobby, what you don't know is that they are all calling you NNPC man, Shell man, this and that. Some people may not even know your son name. The way they describe you, your neighbor is that Shell man, that Schlumberger man, that mobile man. That's how they describe you. So you have to decide for yourself, how am I going to introduce myself to other people? I'm saying this, if there's anybody retiring this year, please listen to this carefully, because you don't know how this will affect you psychologically if you don't think about it. So you can go, is it that you're going to start saying, I am now going into full-time pastoring. I am now this, I am now that. You may not, well, you can also say you are a retiree, but you need to have that conversation. But if you are somebody that is not prepared to, you know, and I always tell people, own your narrative, own your story. Otherwise, people will say it for you. The guy left work, we don't know what thing they do now. You know, they will own it. So you have to, because I'm a communications person, I knew that. So I owned my narrative. Just like I'm telling you now the story of why I left, I told that story to people before I was leaving, because I was leaving early, so that people are not confused about why I left. You understand what I'm saying? Because I did leave early. I left before, in fact, after my 50th birthday. And then after that, in fact, the reason why I set up my consulting, which is quite funny, is that by January 2020, I now realized that when I want to fill form, they'll be asking me, you know, every form asks you for job title, as if everybody is working. So I said, hey, what will I write retiree at the age of 50? I said, okay, you know what, since you know you always practice communications anyway, just set up something. And I thought, okay, what should I call it? I said, okay, Shola Abulu and Associates, because I believe that I stood for something while I was working. People knew me, that Shola says it like it is, you know, reputation, ethics, that kind of thing. So I wanted my brand I wanted it to be an embodiment of everything that I stood for. So I couldn't think of any other name that could capture that for me, rather than myself, you know, that my own name, which is why I then used my name. So I called it Shola Abulu and Associates. Somebody is raising their hand. I hope it's not that there's an issue, you know, that you can't hear me, but I assume the questions may be taken afterwards. But Odoayo, if you need to interrupt me at any time, please do so. So then what are you going to do? Have a 30-day plan, 90, 180, have the plan and write it down. Because if you don't, we've seen people go into depression after retirement. This is retirement, we focus on the financial side, we focus on the change, we don't focus on the emotional impacts. That's the one that really destroys people. And Sir IG referred to that, which is why he said he didn't want to just stay at home and that he wasn't looking for money. Because yes, if your brain has been active for 22 years, 25 years, you cannot just shut it down. No, you have to moderate it down. Otherwise, your system goes into, you know, first of all, the fact that you're waking up Monday morning and not going anywhere, that one is a major adjustment. So you really need to decide, what am I going to be going? And if you, like you said, you want to travel around the world, that's also fine. But have some intellectual stimulation put in that. And the how is where you begin to think about things like sustainability and cost, self-actualization, what's the support system around you. All of this has to be very realistic. Please let us not deceive ourselves in this one. This is a conversation with yourself and with the people who love you and care about you. Because at the end of the day, you are the one that will bear the brunt. If it works for you. If it doesn't work for you. You are the one and those close to you. So by the time I then decided to set up my consulting firm, I had to go through, thank God I did an MBA. So that MBA now started delivering for me. The MBA delivered for me while I was in Shell, coincidentally, because it was after I did the MBA that Shell people started thinking that, okay, it's like this Shola can be a leader. Before then, they just saw me as one bookworm, you know, they would use for research and strategy. But after that, they started giving me leadership positions. I honestly believe that if I didn't do the MBA, I probably would not have been eventually the communications manager for Nigeria. And even though that title was communications manager, the kind of responsibility and accountability I had under it, in fact, everything communications for Shell was coming to my table, even from the group level all the way in Nigeria. So it was a very influential role, and I enjoyed doing it while I did it. So in setting up my company, I then had to look at things like, what is the problem I'm trying to solve? Who are my competitors? Why will anybody use me? Now, I wanted to set up a consulting brand that will be used by serious businesses. Meanwhile, I'm a one-man show. All other than a small team. I mean, well, you know what I mean, like a solopreneur. I'm not a big company. So I was aiming to compete with bigger players, even with less resources. But it is possible, because at the end of the day, the fact is that I have experience that is global, and I have the ability to actually adapt it to local. But then I had to develop a brand that will convince people that value that they will get, even in the bigger companies, they will get it through me. So I had to think through this entire process. I don't want to go into all of it because, like I said, that one is another masterclass all on its own. But I had to ask, what is unique about my service offering? Why would anyone care? Throughout 2020, I was tweaking it. Before I realized that, okay, what is it that I can do? Initially, I thought it was only communications. Later, I now found out that the MBA part of my skills, so things around operations management, things around organizational effectiveness, that there was a section of people who needed that. So mostly medium scale companies that are growing, maybe 100 and something employees, they have grown. They now need to have performance management systems. They need to make, people work more effectively, team building and all of that. They were now calling me to do things for them. But it took me a while to craft that offering. It's a service offering now. As in, I was working, tweaking, and you have to keep putting things there, on LinkedIn, promoting, talking about it, letting your friends. And again, just like Sir IG said, it starts from your networks. Before you to get to the people who are outside of your network, those are the people. It's your friends that you first know, your former colleagues and all of that. So I had to have a strategy around all of this. How will I reach my customers? What is the product or service? Who is my customer self? Who are they? Are they men? Are they women? Are they companies? So now I finally landed on it after quite some time. I realized that my target audience, if you look at where this blue dot is, are growth stage businesses and established brands with an urgent need to enhance or problem solve or scale up on productivity, performance, or reputation. So typically, the people that come to me are companies who are either in their growth stage and they are looking for someone to help them with processes that can now help them manage the complexity around their people. That's a very common problem. So mostly companies that started off with 12 or 10 people, they are now 100. So my first client was from the health sector, and that was their own story. It was a hospital, and they just found out that the kind of efficiency they had when they were small, they no longer have it. They have like 4 locations now: Abuja, Port Harcourt, Lagos, and everything was just getting out of whatever. So I helped them do a performance management system and that sort of thing. So that now showed me that there was a market there. So I was tweaking my efforts and everything. This is my website, by the way. And you would see some of the services that we do. So even though in Shell, I was doing crisis and reputation risk management and communications, but in Shell, I was doing a lot of organizational effectiveness as well, because I was convening people. Like if there's an issue, there's a crisis or something, I will be the one to convene legal, technical, production people, project manager, and I will be the one to facilitate the conversation to make sure that we find out what really happened here. What are we going to do? How long is this going to take? What assurances? Who do we speak to? So that facilitation skill, that problem-solving, critical thinking skill that I had learned while I was working in Shell is what I'm now using for business improvement in another sector with other sets of clients. So again, to what Sir IG said, all of the skills that you do while you are in whatever, even particularly those ones that you do off, like the union things, those things that are not really in your day job, you will find out that is what will be most useful for you when you leave. So I would really encourage everybody to continue to immerse yourself. Even taking position in church, it helps. It really, really does help. It's not just about the position, it's about the learning and the experience and the networks. So all the things I had to work on market entry strategy. I had to work on market testing. Like I said, initially, I thought it was communications I would do. It now turned out that my first client was about performance management. So in fact, the communications work started coming this year, but last year it was more of other things around organizational effectiveness, which was quite strange to me because everybody knows me as a communications person. I'm even on the international board as the member for West Africa membership in that board. So anyways, so I had to do market testing, and it was continuous learning. And that's the thing. When you retire and you want to do something else, you have to become a learner. And in fact, I would imagine you must be somebody that's always had a learner mindset, because there's so much you would have to learn afresh. I had to learn how to market. I had to learn how to promote. I had to learn how to price my services per sector. I had to know how to bundle the packages. I had to, so much that I had to learn, but I'm enjoying it, as you can tell, and I'm continuing to improve. It's still very much early days for us. So I'm not telling you that, we are hugely successful, but we're in that proof of concept phase. So we have been able to establish proof of concept, which is that we have services that people are willing to people are willing to buy, to uptake on, and actually use, and is adding value. I always like to exceed the expectations of my clients, and so far that is what we have achieved. And I'm so grateful to God for that. So these are the sectors that we are working in, that we have worked in. Our first client, like I said, was a hospital, and we are currently working with an education, a leading education brand. I don't want to drop names because, I don't have the permission of my clients to, say this is what I do for them. But yes, I do have a client, and we have a retainership till the end of the year on a particular thing, enrollment marketing. And then also supporting oil and gas as well. I'm about to do a stakeholder management framework for one of the leading LOCs. And I'm also supporting a colleague who is a consultant who is doing crisis management also for another leading brand, one of the major ones, which of course I can't mention. I'm also doing another performance management work for an IT solutions company, and currently also consulting with some governance institutions. So for me, it's I don't know, but first of all, I want to give God the glory, because if someone had told me that it was possible, I would never have imagined, because I've always been a salary earner. But what it showed me is that if I can do it, everyone else, many other people can do it. But it's really about knowing, you're doing that self-assessment, knowing what you can do, what you love to do. If your passion, you had better do what you enjoy, because that is what, challenges you and moves you on. And all of this I was doing while I was at home. So I don't have a brick and mortar office, clearly, because during COVID, what is the justification for doing that? So I've been working, this place that you are seeing me in is my office. People calling me on WhatsApp, people text me. I push out a lot of content, but that's one thing, because I'm a communications person. To drive that credibility, I have videos, I have things on YouTube, so that you're not in doubt about my competence. As in, if you just Google my name. That's another reason why I use my name as my brand, because I happen to be the only Shola Abulo on the planet. Because and before you ask me how is that possible, let me explain. My husband is from Isha, like I said, and so far, Isha people have not married any other Shola. So for now, I am the only combination of Yoruba Shola plus Isha Abulo. So if you Google Shola Abulo, it is only my name and everything that I have done that is on the internet that shows up, including what I did while I was in Shell. So in summary, the critical success factors that I would say have really helped me, because you can say all the English, you can say everything. Of course, I will start off by faith and God. That's number one. And I also heard that in Sir IG saying, it's very, very important, because at the end of the day, it's the grounding that you get from within that strengthens you to do what you need to do externally. So agility, being agile, not being able to shift, pivot, do things, that's quite important. Then flexibility as well. Because like I said, sometimes I went into client conversation wanting to do communications. By the time I saw that the conversation is going somewhere else, I have to be able to pivot and say, okay, this is not what they want. Let me listen, and what other place can I add value? And if not, let me step back. So that flexibility needs to be there. My clients also need to see that I retain a learner mindset, that it's not just what I am fixated on in my head, that I continue insisting it must be this way. They must see that I'm actually taking efforts to understand and be in their shoes, so that I can come up with a solution and support them. That humility to also be to know that there is information in their own heads that I do not have, and I need to get that so that I can understand how we can support one another is important. Being curious, in fact, that one is number one. Curiosity. I spend a lot of time on the internet. I do a lot of research. It has helped me, because there is information on the internet. People who use social media only to watch comedy and videos, I don't know what they are doing, because the internet is like a university on its own. On its own. So for me, there's nothing, if I'm struggling to understand something, even Nigerian politics, I have been researching about ethnicity and the tribes and so many other things. There's this whole trove of information. Anything you are struggling with, just Google. So team player, problem solver, critical thinking, I've talked about. Reputation, we have talked about that as well. Your credibility, very, very important. In fact, that reputation one, I can't even, because I know, I give God the glory again, but I know that it is the reputation that I left Shell with has contributed a lot to the kind of conversations I have had with people, the place they have brought me into. So I don't have any one-man business brand that I'm working with. None, not one. I don't have, as in they don't even come to me, because that's not the way I position myself. And so, and you know how it is in companies. These are companies that the decision is made by several people. So somehow, to the glory of God, you have that reputation that makes people feel we can work with this person, even though she's not a big brand, she's not one of those, Price Waterhouse, this one, and all that. They will work with you and still give you that work. The value add must be very important, tangible, measurable. There, you must be there. In fact, the value add must be more than the one that the big players can deliver. So it's either your speed, your timeliness, your teamwork. There must be a differentiator or something that makes them think, oh my goodness, I'm so thankful that I brought this person in. So even though I've been talking about faith, I will also say pragmatism. Being pragmatic is very key. So knowing what you can or cannot do, knowing your limitations, and not building castles in the air, is very, very important. This is, retirement is not child's play, but you can be fun, but I think a healthy dose of pragmatism is very, very much needed. I think a lot of people suffer and struggle both while in career and post-retirement because they're not pragmatic and they do things based on what maybe the way I was living before I continue to live that. You don't realize that there's a change of circumstance, so you have to adjust, or you are just being unrealistic about what the options available to you and what you should be doing. So I will end on this note with these words from Steve Jobs, which says that your time, our time, is limited. So we cannot afford to waste it living someone else's life. I think that applies for us while we're working. It also applies even more when you're retiring. So this is not to say that everybody must follow this is my own personal path. So IG2 has also talked about his own personal path. There are some principles, there are some things that we can take from it, but at the end of the day, it has to be your own path. And the most important thing that I think all of us should aspire for is finding fulfillment in the path that makes the most sense and gives us the best outcome for our own benefit and for those that we care about. Thank you very much for listening. That's the end of my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Shola Obulut, for that wonderful session. We most are grateful for all you've taught us, that self-assessment is key. We don't have to deceive ourselves. We have to self-assess ourselves from the beginning, what we want to do later in life. We have to have a worthy reputation. We have to grow our networks, keep positive relationships with people, and also have a clear mind of what you want to do and where you are going. Thank you very much, Ma, for that wonderful session. We are glad you could share your experience with us. Thank you, Ma. Moving on in this wonderful senior member strategy room, we have a moderator per excellence with us, Mrs. Sheun Solanke, who's going to be moderating the interview session with the guest speakers as well as the keynote presenters. Ms. Sheun Solanke, you're welcome. We yield the floor to you now for that interview session. Hello, can you hear me, Mrs. Sheun? I think we have a network challenge over with Miss. Just give us a few minutes while we rectify that.
So maybe you can disconnect and reconnect back if you're having problems with your connection. Thank you.
Mrs. Sharon Solanke, we can see your audio is on, but we can't actually hear what you're saying.
Hello?
Whoa.
Hello, can you all hear me now? Sincere apologies. I had to switch to my phone. I was still having trouble with my laptop. Good morning, everybody. Odunayo, can you confirm you can hear me?
Loud and clear. We can hear you.
Fantastic. Sincerely apologize. Thank you, everybody.
Very loud and clear.
Very good. Thank you, everybody. Hello? Welcome to this segment of the session. I'd like to start off by saying hello, everyone. My name is Sholanke Ebuje. A bit like Mrs. Shola Abulu, I am a Yoruba woman married to an Ishan man. And one of the best life hacks I've learned this morning is that I'm going to go and start practicing under my married name so that I can be unique. Well, without further ado, we will move on to the interview session. The first interviewee is Mrs. Sheyi. Hello. Please, can I get confirmation? Hello.
Hello. Good morning. Can you hear me? Good morning. Yes, it's still morning.
Yes. Yes. How are you? Hello.
Very well, thank you.
Great. So I needn't do an introduction because you have been duly introduced. I shall just move on to the interview questions, especially since we're struggling for time. Dear Mrs. Afolabi, what would you say are your top 3 tips for preparing for a productive life beyond retirement?
So once again, good morning, everyone, and it's a pleasure to be here and to see Sir I.G. Okafo. We've been colleagues for a long time in the industry. He's a senior colleague though. And nice to hear also Mrs. Shola Bulu. But my top 3 tips for retirement. The first one is that, like everyone has said this morning, you have to prepare for it. There has to be that mind change as you're working. So like everyone said, you prepare for your retirement from day one. And once you know that there's going to come retirement right from the day of employment, then you have a mindset towards what is my life going to be like when I retire. So have that clear mindset of, yes, the day of retirement is going to come. In the process, you have to have an active savings plan. Yes, you will get your gratuity. Yes, you will get your pension on a monthly basis, but you do really need to have an active savings plan, something that you have put aside yourself. In the industry we work in, I'm sorry about my voice. It's 5:15 in the morning where I am. So in the industry that we work in, there's the employee savings plan. So the company puts in some money, you put in some money. I would say try to maximize that for the ones that are very young. But even if you're a mid-level career and you're still kind of like, oh, maybe I should just take a part of that, maximize whatever the company is going to match. So on your side, you also have an active savings plan. The other thing to think about is fixed assets. You must invest. Just putting money in the bank, we know how the currency continues to fluctuate and depreciate. So you have to have fixed assets. So I would say that, consider real estate, because that's something that you know that it's yours and you can hold on to. So 3 tips towards retirement: plan for it for day one, have that mindset that you are going to retire, so that you don't become known as the shell man that was there before. And then you also have to have an active savings plan. Also, make sure that you have fixed assets, because when you have real estate, when that's annual or monthly rent comes in, it's a nice feeling. So that's what I would say for now.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Those are very, very excellent tips. So when Shola was talking, she talked about going to get an MBA quite later on. Do you think it's possible for people to upskill at an advanced stage in their career? How feasible is it? How easy is it? How affordable is it?
Absolutely, I totally agree with her. And some do it just for the name tag. So some people go to Harvard, and that's not cheap. So you end up going to Harvard MBA, it's about $100,000. If you have that kind of money, why not? But I would say that learning is definitely a continuous process. So we must keep learning. And one of the things that she also said is that the internet is a good tutor. There's so much information. Some of them are not checked out. So, there are things that you can see on the internet that you still have to do further research on and check them out and make sure that they're consistent. But definitely, I totally agree with her that learning is a continuous process. You definitely have to upskill, continue to know what is relevant in the industry that you are in. But I would not say go completely into something new. You could see that everything that both herself and Sir Okafor talked about was a continuous building block. So everything that you're learning in your career as you're moving on must be a building block towards where you're going in life. So never take any assignment as if it's not relevant to where you're going in terms of your journey, because life is indeed a journey. So from even when you start off, so if I use myself as a specific example, I started off as a reservoir engineer, and then from then I moved on to strategic planning, and from planning I moved on to commercial and Nigerian content strategy planning and all that. And then I moved on to projects. I did construction, and then, I came back into projects again, and then went back into commercial. But everything is a building block towards something. And that's the way you must plan your career. That's no matter what the job you're given right now, it is a building block. But you must also continuously learn and upskill. Get the new technology, see how it is used. 2020 was a year when we all learned about Zoom, Zoom or Teams or whatever. And, we all had to stay at home and learn how to do virtual communication with each other. So it's a continuous learning process for all of us. Thanks.
That's very true. I'm sure a lot of us have had to get better with our IT skills as a result of the pandemic, and have been forced to upskill in one way or the other anyway. What are your thoughts on career transition at a later stage in life? When we were speaking earlier, you sort of alluded to the fact that, yes, you can upskill, but not too radically, leverage on your building blocks while you were in paid employment. How would you then advice on career transition? Would you say, one can do something radically different, or would you give the same counsel?
Absolutely the same counsel, because I would say that, so the adage is true, but not so true, which says that you can't teach an old dog new tricks. So who you really are is kind of like intrinsic to you. And, as you have been in the career, and most people maybe 20, 30 years in paid employment before you move out of, and these days those numbers are growing lower and lower because, or getting lower and lower because of the kind of industry that we are in. There's so much around the oil and gas sector, the volatility and all that makes, even people stay in paid employment now a little shorter than it was before. But I would not say that you should transition to absolutely an unknown territory. There's something that Mrs. Abulu said earlier on, which I really liked. It is about flexibility and adaptability. Her ability to work in an industry, despite not being an engineer or a geologist, being able to understand the technical details so that she's able to then write, the communications for her company really is something that we all need to learn. Adaptability is important, flexibility is important, but don't try to step out completely out of your comfort zone. When you do that, you're just almost like fish out of water. So I would never, ever advise that you transition to a completely new career. It has to be something that you're familiar with, a territory that you feel comfortable in.
Thank you very much for that. I have one last question I'd like to squeeze in before we move to the next person. What are your thoughts about becoming an entrepreneur after retirement or consultant? We know you've done it. Congratulations, ma'am. What are your thoughts?
Excellent plan. I believe that every one of us should actually have an active life right after retirement. The first thing that I say is that, we've been overstimulated in paid employment for us to just crash the mind by, putting up our feet like Saiji was talking about, going to Acapulco or deciding that my retirement plan is just being with the grandchildren and all that. They have their own lives. And, yes, they will bring the children over to your house and you can be there. And thank God for the days of virtual work. So you can work from anywhere now. So, but it is an excellent plan to make sure that we are all active right after retirement. You cannot afford to allow your mind or your brains to decay or go to waste. There's so much to do for our country. I mean, I look at a lot of us, especially the people that have been fortunate to work with international companies. We've been almost everywhere around the world. And when you come back and you look at your country, I don't see how we can all feel comfortable with just retiring and going to sit down in our own little cozy homes. There's so much to share. There's so much to impact into the future generation. And if you see, the theme that has been going on this morning is about ethics, being ethical, being credible, being honest about what you do, true to yourself, have a strong faith in God. So there's so much that we've talked about that has to be impacted into the future generation. Nigeria has to get out of the doldrum that we find ourselves. Each of us do so well, but why can't we do so well in our own country? So there's so much to do. And I would never advise anyone that is coming out of paid employment to just sit down and do nothing. There's a lot. And thank you, Sir IG, for going into politics I didn't hear about it at that time, I would have supported you because I know who you are. So we need more and more credible people coming out and trying to help us run the country in a way that we will all be proud of. So my plan, please, no one should sit at home after retirement. We should all transition out and become people of influence and importance to the future generation. Thank you.
Absolutely correct. I also wish to thank IG Okafor for his bravery doing that. We more of us must step forward. Want to enjoy the change we want to see. Thank you very, very much, ma'am. It was a pleasure interviewing you. Good morning. It's still morning, Mr. Dele Aikiobare. I hope I pronounced that properly. Morning, sir. I believe you might still be muted. We can see you, but can't hear you.
Okay, yeah, morning.
Morning, sir. Welcome.
Yeah, morning. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, sir. I stand on existing protocol. You have been given a glowing introduction video in the beginning of the session. So in order for us to catch up with time, if it's okay with you, sir, I'll just run right to your questions, to your interview questions. So given your profile, I thought it might be interesting to ask you if you consider it desirable to transition to a leadership role with an independent as towards an advanced stage in one's career. Your thoughts, sir?
Yes, I also saw the video of my introduction, and I was wondering if they were talking about me. What I would say is desirable, and with the way things are in the industry, it's imperative that those of us who have benefited so much from the industry give something back. It's imperative. I will digress a bit and talk about the huge technical capacity gap that is currently in the Nigerian oil and gas industry. Over the past 10, 15 years, the cyclical nature of our industry has made it less attractive to a lot of the kids coming up. My son once told me that, Dad, I don't like your job. And I asked him why. He said, your job is cyclical. Food is not cyclical. Power is not cyclical. So I would rather not do oil and gas. I'm going into power. So the point I'm trying to make here is, for those of us who have been in the oil and gas industry for 20, 15, 30 years, we owe it to the next generation to be active towards the end of our careers. And a good way to extend this and grow capacity is by moving into an independent company and then spending a lot of time training people, teaching them the technical skills, teaching them the very, very critical soft skills. Having said that, you first need to ask yourself, you desire to transition into a leadership position in an independent company, But you have to be brutally frank to yourself as a person. You have to look yourself in the mirror. I do that once in a while. That Dele Aikiobare, if you are the one looking for somebody to occupy this job or this position in this independent company, will you give the job to Dele Aikiobare? And the last time I did that, I told myself, yes, I would give the job to Dele Aikiobare. And that's how I left Chinombiche. Okay? The point I'm trying to make here is, it's good to do, but are you prepared for it? How do you prepare for it? The last speakers all alluded to the fact that you need to be strong in what you do. You need to be in a position that people will see you and say, yes, this person, this individual can add value to my organization. And I can't stop saying that, you as an individual must have at the back of your mind that, look, I am going there to add value I'm going to help develop capacity, and it's not going to be about money. Money is important though, but one thing I would like to say is, Sergio Campos talked about that, Madam Apolabi talked about that, Mr. Pulu talked about that too. You need to be financially independent at that stage of your career to be able to selflessly give back to this industry. Because at this stage of your career, in my opinion, what you should be looking at is, oh, they've done well by me. How am I going to help them back? And there are critical things you need to have. You need to be very, very technically strong. If you are a seismic man like me, you need to be in a position where you can stand up and talk seismic with anybody from anywhere in the world. But another critical skill you need to have, or skills, are the soft skills. The soft skills are actually more critical than the technical skills at that particular stage of your career. Thank you.
Okay. We can't hear you.
Yeah, hello?
I will say thank you, ma'am. Then I agree very much with Mr. Ikyoberry that we have to give back. We have to add value to the industry that has supported us so much, most of us in our careers, and that it's one of the ways to do that is to look for independence to add value to. However, are there sufficient number of these independents for those desiring such opportunities?
Yes, I believe there are. And actually, we have enough such opportunities. There's a marginal feed round going on at the moment, going to the concluding phase. A lot of opportunities will come with that. And from my experience working in Aeroton and interacting with my peers from other independents, at times we are in meetings and I think, are we in Jurassic Park here? Because everybody's an old man, right? So the opportunities are there for people who are moving towards the retirement age to slide into these positions. Because I've been in meetings where you look around and everybody has like a year or two to go. And I keep telling people, you must never put your company in such a position. There has to be a very concrete succession plan in place. Yeah, that will go back maybe one generation or two. So there are opportunities out there, a whole lot. I'm 57, got 2 more years to go. And most of my friends in my positions in other companies, they're about my age. So there are real opportunities out there. But the thing is, the opportunities are there. Are people competent enough to slip into those opportunities? That is the big question. So for the individuals, for the people who are moving towards that age, what I say, it's never too late to learn. It's never, never too late to learn. And I will implore you to work with something. It's something that helped me throughout my career. Yeah. Don't spend a day without learning something new, whether it's technical, it's non-technical, whether it's even just managing your home. Spend every day learning something new. My career was mainly in seismic data acquisition, though I'm an electrical engineer. I trust nobody to throw you into something you don't understand. Yeah. But I've done a whole lot of other things. In December, Aeroton decided we had a sort of, not a merger, but Midwestern and Aeroton sort of decided to put all the common services together. And somebody in their wisest thoughts or whatever said, oh, Dele is the best person to be the head of project management office for these two companies. I was like, hey, the last time I attended the project management course was in Malaysia in 2006. Who thought of this nonsense? Okay, Dele, no, we like the way you talk during meetings. You push excellence in execution. So since you make so much noise about this, we'll make you head of PMO. I was like, see, how am I going to get out of this? Yeah. So what did I do? I went back to school. Between January and February, I attended the project management course. I attended a course that was specific to project management office. And I can say today, oh, maybe Dylan knows I'm not so stupid after all. I can still learn. So the point I'm trying to make is you need to make yourself relevant. You need to update yourself on a continuous basis. One of the speakers, I can't remember who, said, look, I think it was Okafor. He said, look, you need to read the Petroleum Journal. You need to know what the trends are, what is new, so that when you talk in your management meeting, people will listen to you. Yeah. And when you talk, even if you are in a company you want to transit to somewhere, because normally these things happen by networking. Yeah. That's saying that it's not about what you know, it's about who you know. There's some truth in it.
Absolutely.
That doesn't mean you shouldn't know stuff. You should be prepared, but you should also know people. So you ask yourself, how strong is your network? Usually, most people I know who have transited from one company to another indigenous company, it was always by word of mouth. Somebody goes, oh, that guy, you have this problem. He's the person to solve it for you. Because at that stage, let's face facts, you can't be at 55 and you feel very, I'm sure most of us don't even know how to write CVs. Most of us who are 55, 57, you don't want to be sending your CVs around like some little kid. So it's your network. And your network depends on how open you are. Are you willing to learn? Do you listen to people? Are you empathetic? And when you are in a position or you're in a position in a company, do you really, I think what Mr. Pulu said, that do you carry your work on your head or carry your office on your head? Do you, when people come to you, do you show them compassion? Do you support them? Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. You mentioned that you had 2 years to go, so I'm just going to squeeze in one last question for you. What would you say challenges of being at the edge of your career?
What do I say? Come again, please.
What would you say are the challenges of being at the edge of your career? Seeming as you shared with us that you had just a couple of years to go.
Yeah. One, a major challenge is the financial bit. That's common to everyone. Yeah. And for me, my biggest fear at this stage is not being able to be active after so how do I put this now? My biggest fear is not being relevant after I retire. Okay. Another challenge I have is this. Yeah, I'll tell you. I think SP is a family, so we turn this into a family thing. Having to train children when you are 55, 57, 58 is a very difficult one.
Yes, sir. Hello?
Yeah. And it's an expensive thing to do. Hello?
Hello? Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Yeah, I said, we all want the best for our children. So one advice I would give to people so that they don't experience one of the challenges I'm facing today is get married early, have children early. Be done with education for your kids. Yeah, be done with education for your kids.
I already missed that boat. I got married.
I missed that boat. It was a very unfortunate incident. I have 4 kids. Yeah, 3 of them are already graduates. But I lost my first daughter in 2006. And my wife insisted that she must have a 4th child. Yeah. So now I have a son who's 13. My 3rd child is 21. My 4th child is 13. So I still have about 7 years of school fees to pay. And that is challenging, believe me. Yeah.
I know, sir. I can relate very, very well. Unfortunately, I married later in life and have a very young child, even though I'm in my mid-40s. But as we say in Nigeria, it is well. God will provide. Thank you so much, sir. It was really a pleasure talking to you. Thank you for those amazing nuggets. I wish you the best in the rest of your active service. And I trust that you have worry about regarding relevance. Even in this short interview, you have given us the impression that we will be looking for you after retirement. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Okay. The next person we'll be talking to is Sir IG. Sir IG was one of the first voices we heard this morning as he spoke about, he gave us his keynote speech, telling us about eliminating his very interesting career. He's foraying into politics as well as what he's been doing, some very, very interesting strategies for productive life after service. I started an existing protocol and refer you back to the very great videos played earlier in the day for a better idea about his background. Please help me welcome him back, Sir IG, for his interview session. Sir IG, are you on? Hello, IG?
Chief of Army Staff. Hello. Hello,
are you hearing me now?
Hello.
Are you hearing me?
I can hear you, yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, good morning, sir.
And good morning, still morning, yeah.
Yes, good morning, sir. So you've already told us a lot, but please indulge us and tell us more because we have a lot to learn from you. So what would you say were your key strategies when you were nurturing value-based social networking over your employment life? Because you told us a lot about that. What were your key strategies in achieving this?
Well, one of the key strategies, first and foremost, to even get a buy-in from your family. Because if you don't have a buy-in from your family, then you are fighting two wars at the same time. It took a long time before when I decided to get into politics. My wife hesitated, but the last time she gave in and actually prayed for me. When I got into the union in the Abacha days, it was quite scary. Unionism is one of the most risky things you can get into. But I had a supportive wife because she understands me. She understands where I stand from. What I do, I'm somebody who, when I believe in something, I'll do it. I don't have a price. It could be dangerous at times. I don't have it. You can't buy me over. So those are one of the things. Family is quite important. And also, like the last point Mr. Akinobare made, is that for you to prepare for this life after retirement, I can tell you, I was one of the lucky people. I got married. Did I really marry early? But my children got out of school quite early, and also got married also. So I didn't have that financial pressure to keep training people. So for the young ones who are listening, please do that marriage before you are 30 if you can. And when you go around pretty as children as if they are brothers, they are children. So thank you, Dele, Akionbare, for bringing that on board. It's a good thing you brought up, because training children in retirement is completely, could be a nightmare with the school fees and the demands of our children. So like I said, my key strategy was make sure you carry your family along, because you can be alone if you don't have them along, if you don't carry them along. And you need their support, you need their prayers. And you need to have a house of your own. So no landlord throws your property out. Maybe when you are somewhere negotiating something and your wife is on the street, you are going to be done with that. What else really? But more is you have to have a passion for what you do. You have to stand by the truth. You might be alone. You might be alone in the truth. If there are 10 people arguing, you might be alone. Don't let the 9 people sway you from their negativism. Stand by what you believe in. But before you step out, talk to your God. Ask yourself valid questions. Like somebody used to tell, character is something you can do when no one is looking. That should be your guide. Well,
fantastic.
God has been faithful to me. I've had stings here and there. But the important thing, when you look back, people will say, that man. And let me tell you, when I got forward into politics, I remember the first time I went to introduce myself, I want to run. I spoke eloquently about myself, what I want to do. There's a lady they call Maureen. She called me aside after I spoke and said, listen, I don't know who you are, but I just love the way you spoke. However, don't be a pope in politics. Do not be a pope in politics. Do the best you can. Do not say what you want to do before all of them, because people will antagonize you. People keep back a little bit. Be on the seat. Like I told you, what cost me some of my elections is I started arresting people before I even got employed in the police department, because I felt I was a good man, and a good man must be liked by everybody. Unfortunately, there are too many bad people in this world. So the bad people will make sure you don't succeed, because that is their politics is their business. There are career politicians, and you can't do anything about it, and they will not allow you in. But with God, you will succeed. Pray to God all the time.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, sir. You actually alluded to this while you were speaking, but your keynote speech. But I'll ask you to explore it more about the role professional societies like SPE play for as you are planning for retirement and post-retirement in fostering networking opportunities.
Yeah, like I said when I spoke, SPE is not. It's not a funnel type of society. It's like, what do I call it? SPE houses everybody. Even historians are welcome in SPE. Even archaeologists are welcome in SPE. Everybody is welcome, lawyers here and there. So it exposes you really. So like I said earlier, your circle of influence, your networking, that's what SPE does. Like Mrs. Abulu said, she's not an SPE member, but she was preparing things, and that gave her a broader perspective of the project we got in. So if anybody's listening and you're not an SPE member, I think by Monday morning, you should go and be an SPE member and participate. But more importantly, SPE is a volunteer organization. So you are beginning to do volunteerism already, even though somebody is paying for it. So that volunteerism pays you to be, it makes you understand that I can do things on my own. And when you get a loan, you leave service. You can continue in that part, even though nobody is funding you then, but he has made it, he began to make you a philanthropist. You know, volunteerism is quite important. For example, like I said, without being modest, in my village, I spoke to my wife, and God bless her. She supports me. I said, look, I've retired. My pension is good. What are we going to do this morning outside paying tithes and going to church and doing this thing? We went to the village, talked to the reverend from Anglican community, Catholic community. We picked about 40 people in my town. I said, look, if you know what 5,000 can do to people, we have 40 people in the last 4 years, we pay 5,000 every month. They go to the community bank and pick money. And the prayers these people give to you, I think God will hear it. And I remember when I was ill in 2012 before I retired, I'm not a very prayerful person, but I can tell you, the prayers people pray for me to live, I'm sure God will say, look, this is too much, like the case of Dorcas. Let me allow this gentleman, I.G. Okava, to live further. And I think that's what guides me. Be good to people. Listen to people. Show empathy for your staff. Talk to them as colleagues. When my staff comes and writes me a memo while I was inside, I say, no. Sometimes, jokingly, I would tell my staff to sit on my table, and I ask the staff, can you approve this memo? And once you cannot approve the memo you wrote, then you better go and do it right. There's nothing like, Oga, please direct. I'm not directing. We all this the same DYDS in school. I'm only an Oga because I joined before you. I'm only an Oga because Providence shone on me and I became higher on you. So we're all equal. So learn, allow people to understand. And that's the part of training. make them take ownership of what they wrote. I remember, I can't forget it. Abia was my MD. There was a memo I wrote, and Abia, I remember, he said, "This is beautiful. Oh my God, you need to see what me, even as a manager, somebody is saying, look, this is a beautiful memo. No correction whatsoever. You know what it means. It was big for me to tell you how it means to people."
Yeah, well done.
I don't know how else to say it.
Yes. I have one question for you that I'm sure, because of your career with NNPC, is going to, and it will be on a lot of people's minds, right? So as a lot of us in the industry approach retirement, some of us, well, when I say us, not me, but some people are considering maybe, in future marginal field rounds, or even be able to get such assets from existing owners. They are entertaining the idea of running their own upstream business, acquiring an OML or an OPL. What would you say are the key enablers and challenges that enablers these people require to bring that dream to fruition? And what are the challenges they need to look out for? You should be the best place to give us an insight on that for those that are nurturing those kind of aspirations.
Even the current marginal fee rounds, quite a number of people called me, consulted me to help. Some of these big boys from my area had tons of money. All they did was call me to help, and they believe that whatever I say is like law, and I did help. Yeah, marginal field is actually it's quite a good way to go, but as an individual, you may not go it alone. You need to have other people, friends you have made in all industry, who you know can look at the other side of the field and tell you this is a no-go area. It's not something you want to do alone. It's something you have to do collectively. From key people you have made in the industry who can look at the other side and be able to take, because it's quite a risky business, and it's quite an expensive thing to do. So you need all the contacts you have in the industry. But however, in doing those contacts, you have to know people whom you can trust in their character, people you can sit across the table with, and you can go to sleep as a businessman and don't get cheated through one loose clause in the business relationship, because it's very key that before you get into a business relationship, even with your twin brother, please put it in writing. Don't make any assumptions. It's dangerous. I've learned my lessons. I invested in a small company in 2013. I've been in court. Just recently, God bless somebody in First Bank who decided to call us and say, look, you are wasting your time in court, not because of IG or CAFO, because of the other people who think they can push you aside. And we are arbitrating now, and I'm sure by the next coming weeks, everybody will get the money invested. Be careful with people you talk to. Look at people's character. Even discussing with them, look at people's downside. Are they people who love money more than the business, or people who can put you together, who can mess you up? It's very key. Hire a good lawyer, even if it's your twin brother. Put it in writing, discuss it, cross the T's and I's before, and dot the I's before you get into it. Please don't get into any relationship on assumptions of friendship. I can tell you that. I got stung, but thank God, in everywhere you go, so long the truth will always surface. It might take you 10 years of litigation, but the truth will always prevail. That's my advice.
Thank you very much. That's such wisdom. We are very grateful. So you've heard everybody. If you are thinking of doing this, make sure you get contracts, get a lawyer, even if it's your twin brother, and don't go into a loan. There's a lot of capital exposure, and partner with people who have experience, because there are risks and uncertainties. Thank you very, very much, sir. I wish you a good afternoon. I'd like now to move on to our final segment, which is on crisis and reputation and risk management. Last but far from the least, I'd like to welcome back our second keynote speaker, Mrs. Shola Abulu. I really enjoyed her address when she was giving the keynote speech. Again, standing on existing protocol and on the fact that she had been given a glowing introduction earlier in the video that was watched. Mrs. Abulu, are you connected back?
Yes.
Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you and I can see. Lovely to see you. So I'll go straight to your questions. I'm not going to pretend, ma'am. I have been looking forward to your session the most.
Okay.
So do you think self-employed retirees, do you think they need to give special consideration to soft matters like management of price and reputational risk?
Well, okay, so thanks, Anshin. Lovely to meet you. Excellent moderation, really great conversation, and kudos to everyone that organized this. So yes, I would say okay, yes and no. So I would say it depends, because if you're talking about risk management, then it's about if you are carrying that risk, if you have that risk exposure. So if, for instance, you are doing something in the extractive industry and you're doing something that carries an HSE risk, then I would say you need to pay some attention to your reputation risk. If you're also you have your services or your whatever it is you're doing, you deal with the public, you also need to pay some attention to reputation risk. I'll give an example of what happened recently. We're all aware of that hospital incident that happened with one hospital well, I don't know if you are, but there was a hospital incident that happened in Lagos recently where, a surgery gone bad and that sort of thing. And it caused huge challenges because, the family was very upset and all of that. And when you read the details, things could have been managed differently. They could have been more. So at the end of the day, there was a lot of a furor. I mean, a lot of, buzz, and the Lagos state government got into it and they said they're now investigating. So if you are doing, your business carries HSE risk, you need to have a way of managing the reputation around that HSE risk if and when things go bad. That's all I would say. And as you progress into your business, you will know the point at which you are getting close to that kind of risk. So, if you're still in the commercial phase, of course, perhaps not. But when you're in operations phase, things are started happening, you just need to have, I would say, a framework to manage that. So beyond just having that operational mindset, just plan that there will be a time that you may have to do the reputation risk. And one thing I learned in my former role was that there's brownfield complexity as well as that is different from greenfield. So there are certain things that, like I saw some of the oil companies, the older IOCs, they used to laugh at us when we were having issues in Shell. It's turn by turn now. Many of them started having the issues later on. Yeah, because we started having it because we had been here for so long. So I would just put it that way. If just know. So like Saraji Okafa talked about, he had invested in something. If that project did go along, just bear it in mind that the reputation risk you carry in greenfield is different from brownfield. So whether you're having a good time now, just plan 10, 5, 15 years along the line, you will see what some of us saw. So plan ahead. That's where I would leave it. But not every self-employed retiree is not applicable if you're not doing something that carries significant HSA risk.
Very well. Hello? Okay. I think somebody has their mic on. Okay, thank you. Very well understood. I completely agree with you. I think that what I hear you say is that, if you're going into certain sectors, you have to give this a lot of consideration because, we're very mollycoddled while we're in, active service, and all of these things are arranged for us. So people just have to bear this in mind if you're going on your own and you'll be having that kind of exposure, something to think about. The next question I have for you is about how protection of legacy can become a psychological barrier to maximizing your productivity post-retirement. And you and I had an engagement about this before the meeting. It was a question that was very personal to me and stems from a personal story. If you give me a few minutes to tell it. Basically, it was inspired by my mother. When she retired, I believe she hadn't planned as much as she wanted. She actually took early retirement, but she was somebody who had advanced to a very senior position as hello?
Yeah.
Somebody who had a very senior position as a financial expert in her in a multinational organization. But when she retired, she struggled for a bit trying to find her feet. She hadn't done your whole growth thing, done a self-assessment, but somehow she stumbled upon, she's always been a great salesperson, and stumbled upon fabric merchandising. She was introduced to it and took to it very well. But in the initial stages, she was reluctant to leverage on her social networks. She would drop it in conversations with her customers that, I'm a chartered accountant, this, that. Wanted to let everybody know, no, I'm not just a fabric seller from Isaleko, I'm this professional. And I think it hindered her ability to take up quickly, but being, the woman she is, one of my greatest mentors, and someone I admire the most, she did make a huge, brilliant, a huge success of the business, and doing very well. But she stumbled in the beginning. So this is what's really inspired this question about protection of legacy. I think you will have a lot to be able to tell us about that, especially after listening to your keynote speech.
Yes, thanks, Sho. And when we had that conversation, I wanted you to share this because I felt it is important for a lot of people. And what you just touched on is what has been my observation. And I saw a lot of people struggle with this. I call it an identity crisis, because many of us in the industry do not realize how much our identity has been formed around that paid employment job that you're doing. I will give you an example. My pastor, I used to handle social media in my church, City of David in Lagos here. And one day I stumbled on a memo that my pastor had written to someone. And he said, give it to Shola Shell. Ha! I was like, what? When I saw it, I was like, I don't have son name again. He wrote Shola Shell. And because a lot of Sholas around, Shola David, many Sholas. But the only way he could describe me to everybody was Shola Shell. And it's not as if I went there with my ID card and was introducing myself as Shell. I never even told them I work for Shell. But somehow everybody knew and they saw me that way. So imagine in that setting, you now come back and tell them you are no longer working in Shell. You had better have a plan for managing that, whether you like it or not. Because I never introduced myself as, actually, I've never heard the Shola Shell. I said, what was that? In fact, he learned my surname after I retired. So, which is why I said, that who are you going to be? And I can totally understand what you said your mom went through. The truth is that we are who, life is in transition as it's in phases, but the important thing is we have to come to terms with, this is who I am, this is who I was, this is who I am becoming. But allowing yourself to go through that mental process before time and having a plan of how you're going to do it, I think will make the landing much softer. I've seen a lot of people go into, I've had people hide away. I know some, I've heard, I don't want to share some of the stories I've heard because some people have had a very traumatic first 3 months, 6 months, 12 months after retirement, simply because of this same issue. Somehow being, ashamed or not, just being uncomfortable saying, I'm not having a story. I think that's actually the thing. Because if you have a story that you have already prepared, then perhaps it's easier for you to tell it, So, I think there's no one size fits all approach. Your mother eventually found her way, which I think is nice as well. But I would always say, I think if someone had said something, prepared her for it before, perhaps the learning curve may have been a bit shorter, a little less painful and all that. So, but it's all good. But I think anyone listening here, just prepare yourself for that moment because it will come.
Thank you very much. That's a huge, huge takeaway. Thank you for that. And you've already touched upon my next question, which is about personal brand and how you build towards that. If you have plans to be productive, post-retirement, how do you manage your personal brand?
So first of all, in fact, this one, like I said, this is one of those things that I can actually do a full day talk on. Because I used to tell people, even in the office, there is a brand, a personal brand that is what you say about yourself. Then there's the brand that what other people say about you. And most of us, we are only thinking about what we say about ourselves. But I put it to you and to every other person and to myself as well. Your brand is actually what people say about you. So if you like, you can, like me, I can be saying, oh, I think I'm a very, easygoing person. I have good interpersonal skills. That's not my brand. My brand is what people say behind my back to other people about me. So if we have that in mind, we'll be more intentional about how we come across. And I've seen a lot of people, for me, the point at which I realized that my brand in terms of what people say about me had merged with the way I felt I was when I had my 50th birthday. I was in Shell UK at the time. So I had a dinner in UK, in London. And everybody that came up to speak, the one thing they said was, Ashola says it like it is. That was the only common thing. From my mentees to family members to my colleagues to superiors, they were like, Shola, some of them were even mimicking me. They say, when Shola did, Shola was saying, just stop it there. Let me just tell you, this is how it is. So I realized that, oh, okay. So that was the only common thing. There were other different things. I realized that had become part of my brand. So I now, so even though I was a lot of people that were now used to tell me even in the office, Shola, no, you should be a bit more political. I just realized that I'm not going to change that if that is what I'm known for. So even now, as a consultant, I go into conversations with the client and I say it like it is, very respectfully. And I also learned something in Shell. When you have a view, you give it. They don't have to take it. But you do not say because they did not take it, you cannot go along with that other thing that they said they are going to do. But because they said no that first time, does not mean you start withholding your views. So I am not the kind of consultant that goes into yes, ma'am, no conversation. This is what I think based on what I'm hearing. So that has become an integral part, and I protect it and I defend it. And if there's any client that I sense they will not allow me to say it like I see it, I will not work with that person. So it's us having that intentionality about how do we come across? What do people see? Because whether you like it or not, whether we all like it or not, we have a brand though. There's what people say about you. But the difference is how aligned is it with the way you wanted to come across or the way you wanted to see. I think for a lot of us, there's a bit of a divergence, but I think some people are more intentional about their brand. Someone that I would say is very intentional about his brand is Barack Obama. Highly intentional. He doesn't, he's very intentional in everything that he does, the way even while he was president, he was conscious of the fact that he was going to leave the White House and he wanted to be able to speak and contribute and be respected by a broad section of people. And he carried himself that way. So, so I think it's just, it is, so I think brand value is useful for companies. I mean, in Shell, our brand value is estimated about $45 billion. So, so don't ever take your personal brand lightly. It's the difference between why people will invest money in your business. People will ask you to come and work with them. People will sign you up or come and work with you as a solopreneur, even when they're an established brand. It's your brand. It's your brand. And it's about how do you come across? How do I talk? What do I speak? What is your track record over a long period of time? Personal brand is everything. You guard it with all that you have. Have your principles, have your ethics, and stick by them.
Very well said, ma'am. In fact, the truth is that you could have taken that either way, but you chose to, tell it like it is. You chose to weaponize and use it, in a very positive fashion. Very well said. Now, thank you. Very good. I've learned a lot from that. The final one, I know you've already told us a lot about this, was about, regrets and maybe best decisions. You've told us about how you decide to upskill late and do an MBA. You also told us about likability and approachability and the importance of being a good person and how that pays off dividends afterwards. What other nuggets do you have for us about regrets, perhaps from your own experience? I see you're ready to roll. Regrets and maybe the best tidbits, the best, hacks for us for what to do before we leave active service. Over to you.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I think I've said almost all the best, what I would say. If I would just maybe recap what comes to mind, I think it's, first of all, be a human being. Be a human being. I think a lot of people are just not human beings at work. Be a human being. Be somebody that people will want to call on the worst day of their lives. They will never forget that you were that person to them. I would also say, for me, when I left Shell, what I was telling my colleagues, I said, #no regrets. So I would say, work where you are so that you can be able to say that. So I had gotten to that point. If I had left earlier, I would have had regrets. But I think in the last 5 years before I left, I was so much in that mode of preparing myself. By the time I left, I was telling my team members, because many of them were not, they were a bit sad that I was leaving. It was sudden. I said, look, I have no regrets. That #no regrets, because I believe that everything that I could have gotten from that experience working with Shell, I took it. I really, really took it. And now that I've left, I'm grateful for the time I spent, in workshops and seminars, listening to technical conversations. I am so grateful for all that time because it's now helping me. It's really, really helping me. So it's funny, actually, if I say regrets, I really have done. There's only one regret that I have, and that one is not really about the job. It's about a personal decision that choice I could have made towards the tail end of when I was leaving. And the fact that I didn't make that choice sort of accelerated my decision to leave. So it was about, I wanted to end my assignment in the UK early, and I didn't have the support in country to do that. And that sort of accelerated my leaving. So that was about the only thing. Because later when I look back, I was like, Pochola, you could have managed that conversation a little bit better in that, because it then had a ripple effect upon my son. So from the personal family management side, I felt I didn't advocate for my family interests as strongly as I should have. So that was a very personal regret. That's about the only one I can think about, because every other one, they've all evened out. The regrets I had earlier, God, it has evened out. I can't even call it regrets. They were challenges that then eventually God has helped me become opportunities. So that's about the only thing. I left my catchphrase when I left was #no regrets. Honestly, I enjoyed Shell. I rocked Shell to the very last. So I had fun. So, but I'm glad that I left when I did, because my time was up. So yeah.
We're stealing that, ma'am. #no regrets. I think we're all going to be stealing that from you. Thank you so much for sharing. You have been so open. We really enjoyed talking to you. Thank you very much. Before we close out the interview session, I just want to acknowledge that we know that a lot of people went to the portal to put questions for our distinguished speakers. We will be posting these questions in the chat room or during the breakout session. And we hope that they'll be able to find time to respond to everyone's questions, because I know you all want to get as much as possible from these amazing people. Thank you very much. And thank you for the opportunity, all panel session members, for letting me talk to you and sharing all this, your wisdom with us. Thank you very much. Odunayo, I believe it's over to you again.
Yeah, Maxwell will take it away.
Thank you very much, panelists, guest speakers, keynote presenters, and our top-notch moderator for the interview session. We are very grateful for having you all take out the time to educate us on how you've made it, so that as we are going ahead, we can also take such principles and apply it in our own lives. Moving forward in this program for today, we are having a breakout session where each individual gets to ask your question directly to the panelist on board. You have the choice of joining the room for Mrs. Shola, for Mr. Dele Akimbari, for Sir I.G. Okafor, or for Mrs. Oluseyi Afolabi. It's all your choice. Choose a room you want to belong to, ask your questions, and they will in turn answer those questions. The breakout room is scheduled for 10 minutes, and after 10 minutes, we'll be back here to wrap up the program for today and to give out the awards. Thank you very much. Do have a lovely breakout session. You can choose the breakout room you want to belong.
As well, the senior members should automatically join their breakout rooms. Thank you.
Can someone assist, please? How do I join a breakout room? Thank you.
Okay, so we'll get back to you on that now. I think we're having a bit of network challenge. That's why the breakout room session isn't directing you on how to go. Give us a few minutes and we'll resolve that.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Good afternoon, everyone. We apologize for this glitch. I think the technical team are working on it, and some persons are already in the breakout room. They would do well to get everyone to join at least one of the breakout rooms. We have just 10 minutes allotted to this time, after which we'll all come back to the main room. We sincerely apologize for this.
I think the breakout was fast.
Welcome back. Indeed, it was a very fast breakout session. We didn't actually get to ask lengthy questions as we desired. But I believe for those of us that were in breakout sessions, we got more value added to us in that short while. Thank you very much for participating. Thank you all for joining this meeting. Moving on to this meeting, we'd like to present the video for the attendees and participants to watch. It's the awards nominees and the winners for the different categories of awards that had come up. So I'll just play a video right now and we'll get back for the wrap up from Mr. Dele Akombari before we move finally to the awards proper.
Grand Patron Award, Engineer Yusuf Shiminga Matashi. Distinguished Senior Citizen Award, Engineer Ferdinand Ayebate K. Barawi. Engineer Diola Adebayo Ademilur FNSE. Mr. Onyebo Gabriel Wabar. Engineer Akonji Folonshaw David. Congratulations to you all.
A very big congratulations to the awardees of those awards, and we would like to give a 2 minutes speech to all that are currently in this session. Just a 2 minutes vote of thanks for that award before we wrap up with Mr. Daly.
You mean one of the awardees?
Yes, sir.
Okay, sorry, because I didn't hear you well.
My apologies, sir.
Sorry. My name is Engineer Adeola Adebayo Ademilua. I hope I'm clear.
Yes, you are, sir.
Okay. I started my career in NNPC and PDC precisely as a young engineer, where I served for close to 30 years. Started as a drilling engineer before I rose up to the management level. Spent almost about 26 years in Benin. So I was part and parcel of the Benin 116 section of SPE. Was a two-term treasurer of the section. And I really enjoyed myself while I was in Benin because I was in drilling department, exploration department, and I worked in various field offices of NPDC before I was moved to Frontier Exploration Services. There, I grew up to become General Manager, Drilling Operations. And that was my last bus stop in NNPC. I retired just last year, August. As a matter of fact, I really enjoyed my working career in NNPC because there, I was able to meet a lot of friends across the oil and gas industry. And what has been the real experience since I came out of service? I know it is very, very important for you to maintain your integrity while you are still in service. One day you will enter the organization. One day you will come out of that organization. Whatever position you hold, you have to maintain your integrity, because that will be the first thing that will sell you out when you come out of that organization. And that is my advice to the young ones who are leaving behind, that don't allow your position to change your attitude to contractors, to your colleagues, to your junior ones, to your senior ones, because at the end of the day, you are going to meet on another platform when you come out of that place. And people will refer to whatever you have done when you are out of the system. As I said, don't forget that one day you will leave the place. Maintain your integrity, accountability, and don't allow anything to influence your character. As a member of SP, you will continue to meet other senior colleagues when you come out of the place, like Engineer Okafor. Actually, he was one of the mentors that mentored us while we were in the service. And I believe up till today, we are still interacting. And most of the tips he gave to us while we were preparing for retirement made us, some of us that just left, to be able to face the reality of leaving the paid employment, and you are now on your own. Yes, it is interesting to be out and you have your time to yourself. Right now, a lot of people have been approaching me because I just left, but I have to take my time. Some will approach you, come and become an MD. Some said, okay, I have this organization, come and invest in it. But because of the advice we've had from our senior colleagues, we are taking our time to jump into some of these offers. As a matter of fact, one came early in the morning and said, oh, I learned you'll be coming out of service in 2 weeks' time. I said, yes. Can you become my MD? I have this organization, I have these jobs. I said, no, my friend, let me take my time. It's interesting that you see me as somebody that can work with you. You've known me for a while. I know you are honest, you are this, you are that, you're hardworking. I say, yes. But right now, I've served at NPC for close to 30 years. I am no longer going to work under anybody. I want to have my time. I want to be able to decide when I will go for something and when I will not go for it. So just recently, some of our old colleagues, senior colleagues, came to me and said, okay, I know I'll be watching you and I'll be profiling you. That's one thing we should know. People will look into your past, especially this type of EFCC. Believe me, I never knew that people can go to the level of profiling you. They go to everywhere to profile you to know the kind of person you are. And because we were focused when we were working in NNPC, we maintain our integrity. Some of them have gone to the extent of profiling us and they found us worthy to work with. And that has been the main thing that is driving me right now. And a lot of us will be coming together to collaborate in different projects. So personally, I'm not idle. I can make use of what I've learned while I was in the system, and I can make use of what I am gaining right now from other colleagues, from friends, from old colleagues, through networking. I can easily talk to people and get information. And that has been the driving force, really. I must confess that I'm enjoying the retirement. On behalf of my colleagues that will be giving award to today, I want to appreciate Benin section of SP for this wonderful recognition. As a matter of fact, you guys have taken it beyond where we left it. And it is we are proud of you at any point in time. And I want to appreciate all the speakers for a job well done. Thank you and God bless.
Thank you very much, sir. One of the distinguished senior citizen awardee, Engineer Adeola Adebayo Adumulua, FNSC. Thank you for that vote of thanks. Moving on, we would like to call our the Grand Patron Awards, Engineer Yusuf Matashi, or his representative to give a 2 minutes vote of thanks. But just to cite a few notes about him, Dr. Yusuf Matashi is a pragmatic and pedantic professional with over 3 decades of experience cutting across the entire value chain of the oil and gas business. He retired as the MD of the NPDC. Under his management, there was an increase in asset portfolio and revenue-based generation from the company. He's a section director of the SPE Benin section, Nigeria. Once again, congratulations, sir. Waiting for your 2 minutes vote of thanks or 2 minutes for your representative to give a vote of thanks. Otherwise, we move forward to other awardees. In the absence of a representative, we move on to the next awardee, Distinguished Senior Citizen Award, to Engineer Ferdinand Barriway. He's a shrewd professional and technocrat per excellence with over 33 years of experience in the upstream sector of the Nigerian oil and gas industry. While in service, he successfully managed the NPDC offshore drilling and completion activities. Fast forwarded to March 2020, he was appointed as the MD of IDSL and had a clear vision of increasing the company's revenue base and surmounting set assets, of which he's sloganized as running to exceed with tape on assumption of office. He is retired as the MD of IDSL. Congratulations once more, sir, for this award. We'll give you 2 minutes to give a vote of thanks or a representative to give the vote of thanks. Okay, in the absence of that, we'll move on to the next awardee. Apologies that we are shooting our time, but we'll try and wrap up as soon as possible. Thank you very much for joining in. And next, just to read a bit of citation of Engineer Adiola Adebayo Adimulua, FNSC. He was a sharp-witted drilling operations manager with MPDC before he retired from service. He coordinated and supervised several drilling operations. Worthy of mention was the drilling of the Kolmani River 2 in the Gongola Basin, which led to a significant oil discovery in the northern part of Nigeria. Once again, thank you very much and congratulations to you, Engineer Adiola Adebayo. Moving on to the next distinguished senior citizen awardee, we have Engineer Gabriel Onyabo Waba. He retired as the Chief Laboratory Technologist of the University of Benin, Nigeria. He was distinguished for his doggedness in the laboratory practicals and his commitment to discipline erring students with the aim of making them better. Engineer Gabriel Wamba, congratulations. Congratulations. If there's any representative or if he's in the meeting, we can give it 2 minutes for votes of thanks and remarks. Okay, I'm getting notes that majority of the awardees are unavoidably absent due to other engagements. The plaques will be sent to them in the course of the week, and we are grateful that they've been a mentor to us. Last but not the least, we have Engineer Akanji Folorunshaw David. He is an astute petroleum engineer with almost 29 years of experience in the upstream sector of the oil and gas industry. Due to his exceeded team working spirit, he led the team that successfully started and completed a 2 FDP for MPDC, among other giant strides achieved. Congratulations, Engineer Folorunshaw Akanji. Thank you very much for all you've done as a senior member to both SP and to impacting our lives individually. Thank you very much. A 2-minute remark for vote of thanks or for his representatives to give the vote of thanks if in the meeting. In the absence of a representative, I'd like to call on Mrs. Afolabi Oluseyi to give the awardees a word of congratulations and charge to continue to create value upon retirement. Over to you, Mrs. Afolabi Oluseyi.
Thank you very much. The first thing I would say is welcome to new retirees. And for those of us that have been out there, mine has been about 4 years now. I can tell you that it is a new phase of life and it is an exciting phase of life. So there's nothing to be concerned or worried about. I believe that you would find that there is so much to get done. And so you've done a lot, but there's still a lot to do. The younger folks are looking at each one of us and trying to find their foot or their footing in the future. So I would charge each one of you to remain a hero and not to zero out your expectations. So be a hero as you help to lift up the status of Nigeria. You've learned, you've done so much over the course of 30 plus years. Please don't let it go to waste. Don't let it decay. Help, and help. your new retirement goal should be how to help to create opportunities to solve the problems. Money is not the focus, but money, it can be an outcome even in retirement, because you're focused on creating value for the country. Beyond yourselves is what to think about. So like I said earlier on, don't zero out, please be a hero. Congratulations, and we wish you the very best, a long, healthy, enjoyable retirement life. Welcome to the club.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you very much, Ma, for that charge, and congratulations to the awardees. Thank you very much. Moving on to this, in this session, I'd like to call Mr. Dele Akinbari to give a wrap-up speech for the strategy room for senior members for today. You're welcome, sir.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone, once more. First, I would like to say thank you to my co-panelists. I personally have learned quite a few things today, and I'm sure everyone who has participated here has gotten something new that will add value to their lives. Yeah. I will try to summarize what everyone has said and some of the ideas I had I couldn't talk about during the questioning session. First thing I will tell people is this: you need to accept change because it's inevitable. Your work life is a cycle from start to finish. So accept change and be open to new ideas while being guided by your experience. One or two speakers alluded to the fact that it's always better to stick to what you know. Don't jump into something new. Don't start a new business that is not tied to what your experience has taught you. You also need to establish your brand. You need to know who you are. You need to be strong in what you do. And you have to stay connected to what is happening around you. The fact that you are retired or you are approaching retirement does not mean you cut off. You need to stay connected to people of all ages, because life, whether in active duty or in retirement, evolves so quickly these days. And you have to stay curious. Be a lifelong learner. Without learning, we shrivel emotionally and physiologically. Learn something new every day. The other thing is, how good is your network? You need to build a network of good people, a network of people who can add value to your life somewhere down the line. Building networks is about building long-lasting, favorable relationships so that people will think about you when opportunities come. I'm in the private sector. I'm CEO of a company. I need somebody to run my external and government relations. I know Mrs. Abulu has a firm. I'll talk to her. Now I know a lot more about her. So the other thing I would like to say is be active in all organizations, whether it's your church, it's SPE, it's NAPE, be active. Put yourself out there. Actively participate. It's not just attending conferences and sitting down. Volunteer to deliver technical papers. Volunteer to teach. Volunteer to help the upcoming kids. And continuously increase your knowledge base, yeah? And we should all see retirement. We all need to start developing the mindset that retirement is actually a re-engagement. That has to be the mindset that will keep you, that will sustain you. And you need to plan early in life. I know we say this, but for me personally, I never got the opportunity to go through this kind of session when I started my career in Schlumberger. It was a case of, wow, young engineer, dollars in the pocket, a car, let's live this life to the fullest. retirement thing. Sure, I thought I was an Iron Man. I was going to be 25 and 30 forever. I was shocked when I found out I was 30. I started 50. I went to bed today. I woke up tomorrow and I was like, "Baby, it's your 50th birthday. You're an old man now." So, guys, please and ladies, let's try to plan as early as possible. And it's never too late to plan. Today is the best day to start planning if you don't have a plan in place. Yeah. So you need to save to have financial independence in retirement. And like I mentioned before, if you can get the school fees out of the way as early as possible, please do that. And it's also critical that you strive to be recognized as a subject matter expert in your area of specialization. When people have issues with completing an oil well, you should be the first person that comes to their minds. Oh, Mr. John is the expert in this. He's the person we should go to. Yeah. And having said all of this, I would like to once again thank everyone. It's been a very good session. SPE Benin, thank you very much. Oba Atokpe, I'm from Benin. Oba Atokpe, thank you very much for this you've done. I'll confess to you, I never knew opportunities to rub minds like this existed within SPE until I got the information. Well done. And I hope and I'll be available to participate in the future. Thank you, everyone, and God bless.
Thank you very much, sir, for that charge. But just permit me to say Ise for the Oba
Okay.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, I would like to apologize to the participants for this session. We knew that some of the breakout sessions didn't actually yield much time, and that was because of the technical glitch we had in preparing for that breakout session. Our sincere apologies. Looking forward to the next edition where we'll have more time and more breakout session to discuss with the guest speakers and the panelists. Now I'd like to call on one of the members from SP Benin who planned this program, Engineer Soro Augustine, to give the closing remarks for this session.
All right, thank you very much, Maxwell. I would like to first of all drop a parting shot from a line from what Mr. Dele gave as speech just in the wrap-up session, where he said retirement is actually a re-engagement. And I'd like all of us, all the senior citizens that are here present to take this home, as well as those of us who are having learned from their stable, have acquired one or two important lessons to take along with us as we plan and look ahead, looking forward to our retirement sometime in the near future or in the distant future, as the case may be. Sincere gratitude goes to all our resource persons for today's program. In no particular order, Mrs. Shola Abulu, Mrs. Sheung Sholanke, Engineer Sir I.G. Okafor, Mrs. Thank you to our team of volunteers for making this happen. We also would like to say a very big thank you for the leadership displayed by our section chairman. This initiative was actually making, and he guided us on how to make this a wonderful show, which truly it has become. That said, following this program being the first edition, would like our senior members and senior citizens to also note that yes, they can continue to make themselves available, participate in an SP event, and also reap the benefits. Are you a 25-year member? Or do you have at least 25 years of continuous membership with SPE? Some benefits include you'll be welcome to visit with peers in the Key Club Lounge during the SP ATC conference and exhibition. For 30-year and above members, you will receive a 50% reduction in membership fee. And then for members who have been with SPE for 50 years and above, they automatically inducted into the Legion of Honor. They are exempted from dues, completely exempted from dues. They also receive a certificate and label pin in honor of their achievements. Free registration for all SPE conferences, and the recognition in the Journal of Petroleum Technology. So there are very, very immense benefits for continuous participation in SP activities and events. That's besides sharing the wealth of experience and knowledge for the younger generation to tap into and continue to make the industry a better place for the coming generation as well. And before I'll drop my mic, I would like everyone present who would like to join SP Benin to reach out to us through our social media handles, Twitter at SP Benin, on LinkedIn at SP Benin, on Instagram at SP Benin. Do you want to send us a mail or inquire? Kindly push your mail to spbenin section 116@gmail.com. Do you have inquiries to make via phone or WhatsApp? Just hit up our lines 0802 29178477. Do you also want to submit a membership data by Google form? You can type the link https://bit.ly/306luge. It's been a fantastic event today. We once again we apologize for stretching the time beyond the schedule, and we hope that we all had an enjoyable moment in the inaugural edition of a Senior Member Strategy Room webinar. Thank you, everyone, and do enjoy the rest of your weekend.
SB Benin-City presents Senior Members Strategy Room, First Edition. Team, retire to refire. Keynote presenters. Sir Ikechukwu Power Okafor enjoyed 30 years of unblemished career in NNPC, where he retired as Executive Director Operations and was Chairman Society of Petroleum Engineers Nigerian Council from 2011 to 2012. He was appointed and still serves as the Special Advisor on Oil and Gas to His Excellency Chief Dr. Willie Obiano, Executive Governor of Anambra State. He is currently a member of the SPE Nigeria Board of Trustees. Sir Ikechukwu Power Okafor. Dele Akyumbari worked for Schlumberger Oilfield Services and held various positions during his career. Global Training Manager, Schlumberger, Western Gecko, Land Operations, Multi-Client Asset Development Manager for Africa, but to mention a few. He currently heads the Project Management Office of Itron E&P Co. Limited. He is a member of the National Content Research and Development Council. Dele Akyumbari, Engineer Mrs. Olusei Afolabi, is the Principal Consultant CEO of Reservoir and Facility Solutions Limited, RFS. She has 37 years of experience in the oil sector of hydrocarbon exploration, development, and production industry. She retired from ExxonMobil upstream companies in Nigeria as Executive Director, Commercial and New Business Development in 2017 and is an active member of the Board of Trustees of Society of Petroleum Engineers Nigerian Council, SPE. Engineer Mrs. Olusei Afolabi. Sola Abulu, is a management consultant, organization strategist, and leadership coach with over 25 years experience in organizational effectiveness, reputation risk, and crisis management. She founded Sola Abulu and Associate SANA, a management consultancy firm. She is currently on the African Board of International Association of Business Communicators, IABC, as a member in charge of West Africa. Sola Abulu. Sholanke is the head petroleum engineering, Ohando Energy Resources, Nigeria's leading independent E&P company. She has over 20 years experience in the industry and is dedicated to driving value realization through critical evaluation for subsurface opportunities. Sholanke. And your host, Engineer Onduayo Oladuba, is a senior petroleum engineer working with Nigerian Petroleum Development Company, NPDC. He is an award winner in coaching, team building, leadership, and volunteer service for Society of Petroleum Engineers, SPE. He is currently the chairman of the Benin Section 116 and council member of SPE Nigeria. You're welcome to Senior Member Strategy Room, first edition, Retire to Refire.
Thank you very much once again for joining in this Retire to Refire Senior Member Strategy Room. Before we call it a wrap, I would like to welcome all of us to our third edition of the Field Optimization and Economic Symposium of the SP Benin, coming up next week, the 26th and 27th of May, 2021, 10 a.m. It's going to be a hybrid event. You can join online through a Zoom or participate in the venue Best Western Homeview Hotel in GRA, Benin-City. The theme is Emerging Technologies to Shape the Future of Energy in Nigeria. It promises to be an exciting one. We'll have a number of guest speakers from NPDC, NLNG, from the Honorable Minister for Petroleum. We have the moderators, the panel session 1 and 2. We're going to be having technical presentations, paper presentations, and lots more. You can register from our website at spbenin.com, where you get to choose your mode of participation, either virtually or in person. We look forward to seeing you. We look forward to having you there. You can also send us an inquiry mail to our email at spbeninsection116@gmail.com, and be rest assured your inquiry will be replied as fast as possible. Thank you once more for this exciting outing. Thank you to all the presenters, to all the co-hosts, to the moderators, to the planning team. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Do have a lovely day. God bless you.